If you like to talk about combat sports and you want to join the discussion, click the subscribe button below and the bell notification icon next to it and join Knucklehead Nation. What's going on, Knuckleheads? Welcome to the Keep It Clean podcast. You're with us right here. I am the FightersRep, and this is our Conor McGregor versus Cowboy Cerrone Preview Prediction. You know, this is one of the most anticipated bouts, I think, of the year. Of course, with the notorious Conor McGregor finally returning to action. People have been waiting to see this guy for a very long time step back into the octagon. And this is going to be definitely one of the biggest fights of the year. So first and foremost, what we're going to do here, like we typically do, is we're gonna go through the tail of the tape for you guys, and as soon as we're done with that, we're gonna give you our prediction as to who we think is gonna win this fight, and then of course subsequent to that, you know, we're gonna get your opinions. Hopefully, if there are any of you on here that want to discuss the fight, we'd love to get your opinions like we usually do. So let's get right into it, because there are some interesting physical attributes associated with this fight. First and foremost, let's take a look at these guys' records. You know, these are two guys that are extremely experienced in MMA. You've got Conor McGregor 21-4, and you've got Donald Cerrone 36-13 with a no contest. I mean, so, you know, something like 60 or 70 fights between the two of these guys, and that's a ton of experience for MMA. So, you know, you can expect a high-level, I believe a high-level striking match out of these two when they compete this Saturday. Again, we've also got an interesting situation with the heights. We've got Conor McGregor standing at 5 feet 9 inches tall, whereas Donald Cowboy Cerrone stands at 6 feet 1 inch tall. Now, Cowboy is the taller fighter, and that may play a factor in this fight. However, I think one of the most important statistics in this fight that a lot of people may not notice and may not believe is the fact that Conor McGregor, despite being 4 inches shorter, actually has a longer reach, which is extremely surprising to me. 74-inch reach versus Donald Cowboy Cerrone's 73-inch reach. And, you know, typically you would expect a person that's taller to have a longer reach, but, you know, you look at Conor McGregor, and one thing you do notice is he's got some very wide shoulders. And, you know, it's just, you know, when you really think about it, I guess it's not so surprising. But, yeah, he's got some really wide shoulders. And give me a second here. And so, you know, something that might be unexpected for the average person, someone that's maybe not your, you know, common MMA fan, is a guy that's 4 inches taller, having a shorter reach than his opponent. Then another huge, I think, factor that's going to play into this fight is the fact that Conor McGregor is a southpaw, whereas Donald Cowboy Cerrone fights orthodox. And, you know, southpaws are always going to be harder to fight. Southpaws are much less common. I think southpaws are something like 10% of the population. And so, you know, even if you spar every day, just the coming across a southpaw is so much rarer than coming across an orthodox fighter. So it's always going to be an advantage for the southpaw, who's used to coming across orthodox fighters all the time. I think finally, we got to look at the date of birth here. We've got Cowboy Cerrone, born in 1983, pushing into his late 30s, and then we've got Conor McGregor, 1988 baby, Very, very early 30s, still priming physically. I would say Cowboy Cerrone has definitely hit the twilight of his career at this point. And I think you're going to see a difference because of that in the way these two perform. So, the physical attributes and the difference in physique in this fight, I think, is going to play directly into this fight and is going to compound the result and affect the result more so than in other fights. These stats that I just read to you guys are going to affect this fight, in my opinion, a lot more than they would affect the typical fight. And the reason I believe that to be the case is because, Conor McGregor is just an amazing striker. He's one of these guys he's a special striker even for the MMA world, or rather, even for the boxing world. I mean, he's adept. He went out there and he fought Floyd Mayweather in what I thought was a fantastic performance, especially coming from a guy who is an MMA fighter and had never boxed before professionally. And Donald Cowboy Cerrone, even though he's got some great ground, even though he's got a great ground game, is a guy who's going to want to stand and bang in this fight. That's what he's known for. He's a cowboy, like his name entails, and he's going to want to go out there, and he's going to want to go to war. Now, I think that the physical attributes will play into this fight more than the typical fight, because we know what's going to happen in this fight, I think, ahead of time. I think it'll be a huge surprise to all of us if this fight goes to the ground for more than, a minute. Because I really think both of these guys are going to try to stand and bang it out and give the fans their money's worth. That's what these two are. These two are showmen with skill. So these are showmen with skill. However, I do believe Conor McGregor has more skill, and he's more adept in the striking department. He's also more athletic and explosive, and the fact that he's shorter and has a longer reach, I think, is going to be really problematic for Cowboy Cerrone, because Conor's not even going to have to go on the inside to land his shots. He's going to be able to fight from the outside where he's very comfortable. I do think if Cowboy Cerrone plans to win this fight, he's going to have to keep Conor McGregor at bay, and he's going to have to fight from a distance and use his kicks. And I say that because, Cowboy Cerrone, I don't believe, is going to take this fight to the ground. My ultimate strategy for Cowboy Cerrone, we've discussed this before, would be for Cowboy to take the fight to the ground, but I just don't believe that he's the kind of guy to do that. I believe Cowboy Cerrone is going to want to stand and fight, and so that's why I think his best strategy is to utilize his kicks, maybe, switch it up, hit Conor in the legs, hit Conor to the body, hit Conor to the head, just kicks over and over again, as many kicks as he can throw, and try to keep Conor at bay, and use those kicks to keep a further distance than Conor's punches do, and hopefully fend Conor off that way. And in the long run, try to get the fight, into the later rounds, so that he can hopefully wear Conor out, who's always had a sort of questionable gas tank, and maybe get the win that way. As far as Conor goes, I think he wins by just being Conor. He starts off fast and Cowboy starts off slow. He's, again, standing in that southpaw stance versus that orthodox stance, and that left hand is lethal. It's going to go down the pipe, and I think it's going to land at will. He's a master of distance. He's got great speed, timing. He knows how to find the opponent's vulnerabilities on the feet. And I feel like Cowboy Cerrone just starts off a bit too slow, is just a little bit too sluggish, especially at this age and at this point in his career, especially coming off 2 losses and, both stoppages, and the last one a legit stoppage against Justin Gaethje, who's, I think, nowhere near the striker that Conor McGregor is. I mean, Gaethje is more of a brawler who's kind of starting to refine his style, whereas Conor McGregor is a precise, pinpoint sniper of a striker that lands, 48% of his strikes. And it's just going to be extremely problematic, in my opinion, for Cowboy Cerrone, who just doesn't have those, what Max Kellerman would call fast twitchies. It's going to be hard for Cowboy Cerrone to deal with a guy with fast twitchies in Conor McGregor because, man, he's just going to land those shots at will. We've seen Donald Cerrone walk down by the likes of Darren Till. I do think McGregor is sort of similar to Till in the way that he strikes. I do think he's probably a little bit faster. We've seen the way Gaethje did Cerrone in, and we've also seen the way Jorge Masvidal did Cerrone in, and I think you're going to get a similar result here with Conor McGregor, despite the fact that he's been out of the ring for quite some time. So, my prediction for this fight, knuckleheads, is Conor McGregor gets the win within the first 2 rounds by stoppage, either TKO or KO. That's the way I'm seeing this fight going. Of course, Cerrone's opportunity is there if he can get the fight to the later rounds and hope to tire out McGregor. I also think if he utilizes his kicks, he can maybe get something done here. But, it's just hard for me to see Cowboy Cerrone, winning this fight in any sort of particular fashion other than if he can somehow weather the storm in the beginning that is Conor McGregor, land enough leg kicks to tire McGregor out and mess with his mobility and take the fight the distance. And Cerrone is capable of doing that, and he's been much more active than McGregor. But at the same time, he's got a lot of miles on that odometer. He's taken a lot of hard shots recently, and he's been knocked out. He's been finished. So, knuckleheads, that's all I've got for you as far as my prediction and my preview for this fight. It's looking like a bit of a lazy day today. Not too many people at all on the chat. But if you're watching on the replay, please like, comment, share, subscribe. Let me know what you guys think about this fight. I'd love to know your predictions because, who knows, maybe mine are way off the mark. I think typically I've been doing pretty good. But we'll see. Marco Martinez just popped in the chat. Thank you so much for joining, brother. Much appreciated. He says, I'm so pumped for this fight. Cowboy's an awesome striker, but you're right. He doesn't have the fast twitch early on. I don't think Conor has the power at 170 pounds. Marco, that's going to be interesting to see. I would actually disagree with that. And the reason I would disagree with that is Conor has such devastating power at 155 that I believe not having to cut weight, and it's not like he's a small 155er. I mean, he's a pretty big guy, and if you've seen him in the interviews that he's had, he's still extremely trim and in shape, just very muscular up top. I mean, he's got that sort of V-shaped build. And something tells me that he's going to be able to carry that power. I also think the fact that the strikes are coming from that southpaw angle, they're just hard to deal with. The right-handed fighters, your typical orthodox fighters, they're just not used to dealing with shots coming from that angle. And I think he's still going to cause a lot of problems. I mean, I do think if he lands clean with that left hand, that it's strong enough to put people out at 170 as well. But, it remains to be seen. I do think, though, that he still will carry that knockout power to 170 pounds. We will see this weekend exactly what happens there. And it's a fight, I'm very excited about for two Marcos. I mean, a lot of people don't like McGregor. He's engaged in a lot of craziness over the past, I guess, year and a half where he's not been fighting. He's been, selling his whiskey, punching old people in the face and doing other kinds of crazy things. He was last in the cage in October of 2018, so he hasn't been that active. So there's that, to take into consideration. But, he's just, let's not forget, this is the same guy, that on several occasions hurt Nate Diaz, a guy with an iron chin. This is a guy who TKO'd Eddie Alvarez, KO'd Jose Aldo in one punch, TKO'd Chad Mendez, TKO'd Dustin Poirier, who, is a beast. TKO'd Dennis Seaver, Diego Brandao, Marcus Brimage, so he's had a lot of knockouts against, some really high-level guys, and he's hurt, probably some of the best chins, especially if you take into consideration Nate Diaz. So, I do think that he's going to be able to carry that power, but again, we're going to have to wait until Saturday. We're going to have to see if that time off has affected his timing and his power. It's very likely that it has, and he's going to need to, step his activity up a bit before maybe he goes back into typical Conor McGregor form. But we'll see. It's we're hearing a lot of good things from his team. We're hearing a lot of good things from his trainer. So we'll see where we're at, and we'll take it from there. And I'm really excited about Saturday. I think it's going to be a fantastic matchup. So, that's all I got for you here, Knuckleheads. I really appreciate you guys joining the chat. If you haven't already, again, hit the subscribe button, the bell notification icon next to it. Also, be sure to like, subscribe, comment, share. Get your tickets to FightersRep 9, February 28th, right here in Southern California. It's going to be an awesome event. We've got some fantastic guys on the card so far. We've got hopefully 16 fights scheduled for that one. Also, if you ever want to donate to the channel, get your FightersRep tee, you could do so in the link below right here in the super chat. Anything you donate to the channel will get reinvested right back into the promotion. So that's all I've got for you, Knuckleheads. Hope you guys had a happy Monday. We will see you again on Wednesday at 7 p.m. Pacific. We go live every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 7 p.m. Pacific. That's 10 p.m. Eastern. We also go live immediately after the big fights. You could tune in right here immediately after the McGregor fight. We will be discussing that fight along with the rest of the event. And there you have it. Until next time, Knuckleheads, thank you for joining the Keep It Clean podcast. And keep it clean. I'm out.